be able to do this, there's a lot involved with our committee. And the first part, and over on the green tablecloth, are Central Montcalm Athletic Hall of Fame nomination forms. For us to do this, people have to nominate people to the Hall of Fame, and then we go through and make sure all the credentials are correct, and then we process it, and then it's either a yes or a no. So I know we have 2 nominees already for next year. We'd like to have more, so please fill this out. There's a bunch of copies over there. You can also find it on the Central Montcalm School District website, go under athletics. And in the bottom left corner is a copy of the nomination form, but also it's where you can get on that monitor to look at everything that's going on in Central Montcalm and all our athletes up to this winter. There's another part. To do that monitor, it costs, because you got to put it on iCloud. iCloud lets it go all over the world. And so anywhere anybody can see it. And so it's a cost for us to do it. They give us a bargain, a 3-year price, compared to what it would cost each year. There's donation forms over there also. If you want to fill that out and donate to Central Montcalm Hall of Fame, all you have to do is mail this back to the athletic director, Chris Colby. And so that'll work out. One of our fundraisers that we did this year is a lottery calendar. Each month is by a certain group. What we did 2 years ago, because COVID canceled out last year, so January is the Hall of Fame, and so the first picture was the Hall of Fame inductees from 2020. Every month behind that is one of our basketball is in the winter. Football's around September and so forth. So each sport has its own month, and we have pictures of our athletes on there. Right now, for our winter and spring seasons, their schedules are on here. There is none in the fall. The reason why is our league is changing next year with Hesperia, Holden, and Fremont leaving our league, so we'll be down to 11. So they're still working on the schedule. The cost is $25. I'll just do the sales pitch as Larry Peterson says. You get the calendar free, but it's $25 to get the number. And what does that do? Every Monday, we draw 3 winners out, $25 a piece. Once a month, on a special day, like New Year's Day, the first thing we did was pull out a $200 winner. I texted the young lady, and she texted me back and she said, "Are you kidding me?" So, and that was Larry Peterson's granddaughter. So I said, "No, I am kidding. I want it." So don't worry about it. But and then so every month we do a 200. Every Monday we do a 25. So I have some of these here. If after the ceremony, if you would like to do one, we'll be glad to sell them to you. Or you can go to the high school office. At this time, I would like to introduce our MC, one of our Hall of Fame committee members, David Anderson. Tough chair.
Take it with you.
Not meant to be. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the awards portion of the 2022 Central Montcalm Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So this is our 3rd class. We canceled out last year. And with tonight's honorees, that'll put us at 23 individuals in 6 teams, as we had 6 individuals and 2 teams tonight. So if you think about a 60-plus year history of Central Montcalm High School, there are a number of people that we still need to get into this Hall of Fame, and I know there are some people that are worthy of that sitting out here tonight, so we just need to get them nominated. John said we can get you the forms to go ahead and do that. So it's safe to say that tonight's honorees all have a number of things in common. One of those is a love of athletic competition. So whatever your sport is, you chose to do so in school because you really enjoyed to do that. The desire to represent your school, whether it's Stanton High School, Sheridan High School, Central Montcalm, something about having that name on your shirt brought pride to you, and we appreciate that. the determination to practice, to get there to practice every day and improve your craft and get better at what you wanted to do, whether it's golf, basketball, baseball, football, track. People have that in common. So those factors, those attributes all resulted in tonight's honorees becoming some of the best, not only in the school, obviously, but in the conference, the area, the state. Some of those were able to parlay those talents into playing in college. And I know one member tonight did so professionally in their sport. And that's great. Love that. So all of these activities throughout your high school years led to memories. Most of them good memories, some bad ones, but still memories. In my case, those memories are still communicated with friends, family members, random strangers, anybody that will listen. I like to tell stuff. And the basic story all remains the same. Some of those stories get embellished from time to time just to make it a little more interesting. Details, people have memories of, maybe throwing a game-winning touchdown, or a big strikeout, or singing that game-winning shot or free throw, to win a game, making a big putt, or the perfect drive when it was really needed, diagramming a winning play, for the coaches and the audience. Some of the other memories, scoring a basket for the wrong team in a quarterfinal game. I just learned about that one from the horse's mouth tonight, so that's good. He said I could use that. That's great. So memories, that is what it's all about. Anybody that has participated in high school sports, collegiately, professionally, have memories, and those stay with you forever, and that's great. I love it. So that's all I have. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first introducer tonight, just met him, talked with him, is John Kearney.
Good evening. I'd like to congratulate the inductees on their accomplishment of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. When thinking about what to say about my son and his love for basketball, I had to go to the beginning. Soon I took him to his 13-month checkup, and the doctor was checking his vocabulary. He would point to items, and he would say, "Mama, Dada," etc. And the doctor pointed to a ball, and Andrew said, "Backy ball." We all looked at each other, the doctor, and he points at, just in case we were hearing things, he points at it again. Backy ball. We were surprised at his age that he could have that many syllables. When Andrew was 4 years old, I was coaching at South Lyon, and we were playing John Glenn of Westland. They were ranked in the top 10 of Class A, very good team, and we had a hard time stopping their fast break. When John Glenn was on a fast break in the first half, Andrew was sitting across the floor from me with his mother. I got up to get the guys back. Next thing I see is Andrew's darting across the court in the middle of their fast break, and the officials blew the whistle. They asked whose kid it was, and I pointed to my wife. I say, "It's that lady right there." And Andrew, with the referee right there, Andrew ran by me and said, "Hi, Dad." And he was up next to the ball boys. Like nothing happened. At halftime, I asked my players why a 4-year-old could stop John Glenn's fast break, and we couldn't. If you have children, you always ask yourself, what are they thinking about? What is going on in their mind? I do that now with my grandson, and it's probably amazing if we could look in and see. Well, Andrew came with me to practice my second year at Central Montcalm. He was in first grade, and we had a late practice. My wife had a meeting, and we told Andrew that when Mom came, you need to go home and get ready for school. You can't stay till 9 o'clock when practice ended. Sue showed up. Andrew was under the basket by the tunnel in the old gym, and I told him to go get his jacket on and go with your mother. He said, "No, I want to stay and watch." I told the players make 5 free throws and get a drink. I picked Andrew up, carried him over to get his jacket on, and he started crying because he wanted to stay. Sue came over and took care of getting him ready. I'm sure the players were probably saying, "Just leave Andrew, don't make Coach mad." When I finally got home that night, my wife said, "You know why he was upset?" I said, "No." He said, Andrew said, how am I going to get better at basketball if I don't watch Brian and Matt play basketball? Brian and Matt are here today, also big inducted. And that was first grade, so that hit me pretty hard. As a student athlete, Andrew is installed in himself. He loves basketball, it doesn't matter. He has the passion, enthusiasm, the will to win, absolute best of all time, and commitment, as well as believing in himself and others. Today, when I look at him, I see him as a good husband and a dad, and well, as an employee who values the importance of athletics. As Deputy Athletic Director at Nicholls State University, he is committed to making sure that the athletic programs at Nicholls State run smoothly, efficiently, and provide all the things necessary for all positive student-athlete experience for both women and men. At this time, I'd like to congratulate my son Andrew on his induction to the Hall of Fame.
We got kind of lucky right before I started kindergarten. We moved here to Stanton, and families never left. My sister and I have. But got pretty lucky, the sense of community that my parents installed in us, and athletics and extracurriculars and what all that all means. So with that, I'd like to thank the committee, because I know what this means for the community and bringing people back. For all of you showing up tonight, and as well as the inductees. I was talking with David earlier. When I saw the list, my dad said it, Brian, Matt, that team, they were heroes for me as a kid. Mr. Whitmer, I'm not sure where you are, a teacher. The girls golf team, went to high school with all of you, and Marianne and Emily and Stephanie as well. We all graduated together. It was incredible. And David, I don't know if anyone else remembers this. We'd wake up Saturday morning and look at the box score and David Simpson, 48 tackles. I don't know if anyone else remembers that, but it was still like 5 less than he had last week. But I'd like to thank some people that, while I was here, I think sometimes even it was a little moment. Mr. James, I saw you at a conversation when I decided no more football, and how that was okay with you. And most coaches aren't like that, so thank you. Mr. Thwaites had another call. Exactly. He pulled me into a meeting and said, take advantage of the situation that you have. People will understand. Coach Nicholls, it couldn't be easy being the coach of the former coach's son, the coach, the son of the former coach. And Coach Nicholls was great, always pushed me. Appreciated that. He had these really weird sayings at the beginning of games that we never understood. But those are the things we look back on and really fond memories. Chad Walden, I don't think Mr. Walden teaches at MCC now, but he was our JV coach and assistant and a teacher that I connected with, and I hated to read and write. Didn't initially as a kid, and now learning to do that has changed my life and my career. Zach Ingles, one of my best friends from Greenville, believed in me and had, as a basketball player, he vocalized that in a very abrupt manner, but it is, always believe in myself. Dan Dixon, I had one regret in my life, and I was not at your wedding, and 4 years later, 9 days after Dan became a father, he hopped on a plane and was at ours in our wedding, so thank you. Family, Andy Lincoln, didn't know me back then, but best thing in the world. Katie, always been the biggest fan. And tied back together my mom and dad, it's pretty cool to have your dad introduce you tonight. Like I said, it goes back to that team, Jason, here as well tonight, and the ball carriage and spinning me around, and I'm sure this wasn't always fun to have a little kid biting at your ankles. But I grew up here, and I had a few chances. I'm not sure what ever happened, but I had a lot of people asking me to transfer to Lakeview and Greenville my senior year, and it was, there was never a doubt. And I think getting back to that sense of community that my parents instilled in me, so thank you.
Wow, tough act to follow. Thank you, Andrew. Our next presenter this evening is Marty James. Come forward, Marty.
Yeah, I gotta follow that. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
They put me first.
I think it was alphabetical. But on behalf of Central Montcalm, I just want to say, similar to what John said, congratulations to all of the inductees, the teams, and the individuals. I have the extreme fortune of introducing David Simpson tonight. I know the truth of it. I am very well aware of the fact that I am probably a stand-in, and I am very okay with that because I believe that if Coach Quakes was alive, he would be standing here in my stead. But this is a little something from both of us, okay? David, you know, you can read in the program, David had a career here at Central Montcalm full of accolades. Went on to Alma College and continued that stellar success. David, I always liked coming to Alma to watch you play, but it wasn't so much about coming to watch you play as it was more about coming to the tailgate that your dad and the fellow players' parents put on. But it was just, you know, great to think about those years back when, 1995 to 99, some very successful times on the football field and in the athletic arena, and David was a big part of that. But really, when it comes to David, in my mind, as I reflect back on that, I reflected on three words that kind of embodied him, at least to me. And the first word that came to mind when thinking about David was determination. There was no one more determined than David Simpson. I was David's baseball coach, and David wanted to participate in track, and Central Montcalm had a policy that you could dual sport, but I tried to talk him out of it. I tried to give him the soft sell, hey, you're going to be, you know, a Major League Baseball player if you don't do anything else but focus on baseball. And but I think he wanted to prove me wrong, and so he decided to dual sport, and dang it if he didn't, you know, become all-district in baseball and set the track pole vault record at the same time. And, but it kind of caught up to him because I'm still convinced that's why he got mono in his senior baseball season, because he was, you know, over busy. But the second word that comes to mind when you think about David is a natural-born leader. This is not a moment I'm really proud of, but it kind of indicates the leadership that David possessed even as a young man. We were undefeated, 1998 football season, we were undefeated, David's senior year. We were playing Chip Hills, up at Chip Hills, and we wanted to win because back then you had, for a school our size, you had to be undefeated in order to get into the playoffs. So we needed to win, but also as the defensive coordinator, I wanted to pitch a shutout because I wanted to send a message to whoever we were going to be playing the following week. And so it was late in the second half. I'm not sure why David was even on the field anymore, but he was, and we gave up a score. And we were winning like 40-something to 7 at that point. And I absolutely flipped out on David. You remember that? I mean, it was stupid. I can't even tell you why. Okay, I just went off on David, and he didn't even have anything to do with it. And so I felt horrible about it. So after the game, I went up to him and I apologized to him for being stupid. And here's the leadership embodied. He said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, "Relax. I knew what you were doing. I knew exactly what you were doing." He's like, "You were sending a message to everybody else on the team that we weren't going to settle for anything but our best. And you needed them to know that if it took getting after David Simpson, the best player on the planet, at least in Montcalm County, that's what it took." So David was a leader. And the third thing about David, and you can read this in his bio, you know, he was the valedictorian. You know, he has his doctorate from MSU. David was smart. Oh, gosh, smartest kid I have ever met. I asked him one time, I said, "How did you get so stinking smart?" And he said, "When I was little, I used to read the dictionary." I mean, we as teachers used to go in to see the counselor and like try to pay her off to keep David from being in our classes because he was smarter than all of us. And if he was in our class, he probably should have been teaching it, but he was just smart. And he didn't repeat mistakes. That was what was so amazing about him. And kind of a funny story about, probably my favorite David Simpson story about learning from mistakes. We were headed to Tri-County for his first varsity football game. He was the quarterback. Okay, there was a little controversy going on. David should have been the quarterback, or he shouldn't have been the quarterback. Okay, but David decided on the way to Tri-County that he was going to take a nap. And so he fell asleep on the bus, and I think, if I remember correctly, we had to wake him up when we got there. We ended up going out and just absolutely laying an egg. We got beat 39-0, okay? We probably shouldn't have gotten off the bus. We probably shouldn't have woken David up. But the one thing David learned from that was he never slept on the bus again. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure he slept the entire football season for the rest of his high school career. So with all that being said, David, I hope you know that the CM community, CM football especially, owes a lot to you. Coach Thwaites and I, in the off season of your freshman year, you probably don't know this, not many people do, but we decided in that off season that we were going to build Central Montcalm football around you. He needed a quarterback to run his offense, his veer offense, and he knew you could get it done. I wanted desperately to switch to the 52 defense, and I needed an outside linebacker, strong safety that could get the job done, and that was you. And so, thank you, David, for raising the expectations in Hornet Country, especially when it comes to football. Congratulations. You are more than worthy of this honor.
Following Andrew, I have to lower the microphone. Talk to Andrew. First of all, I'd just like to thank Central Montcalm. Thank Coach Kearney for the work that you do in your leadership with this, the nominating committee. It's just, when I got the email, I was just so surprised and so honored. And then, as Andrew talked about, then we saw the names of people here. Ryan and Matt, and Coach Whitmer, Mark Stevens, just people that I've interacted with. So I'd like to thank my parents who are here, who did do a great tailgate at Elma College, but we're always supporters. Mom took stats during our baseball season. Dad was always on the sidelines, always counting on them to be there for me in my high school career. My two kids are here, Cole and Aubrey, and we tried to show them the portables where I first met their mom in Algebra 2 class and Mrs. Stauffer's class. But the portables aren't there, but they get to see a little bit about where I met my beautiful wife, Renee. I'd like to thank her. She was always a supporter, even would wait for me after a game when we lost, knowing that I would probably be a little upset. But she waited, and she stood by. So thanks, Renee. When I think to Central Montcalm, it is a community, and I appreciate that Andrew brought that up, that it is that hometown feel, that you're always a Hornet. And I just think when I saw that Brian and Matt from the 91 team, I was a 10 and 11-year-old kid, and I remember bawling my eyes out when they lost in the quarterfinals. Probably uncontrollable crying. But we bleed green. And as a principal, I was interviewing a teacher last year. And great candidate. She was talking about her experiences, and I just saw chit-chat. I said, so where are you from? She said, Flint Powers. I said, Powers Catholic? I said, I don't think we can hire you. I'm sorry. So she's like, what? I said, well, let me tell you the story of the 91 team. But I can always remember Brian, number 22, would always use a three-pointer. Would always start the game off. He'd usually make one of those. So those are the experiences that we have that stay with us, those memories. So I talked to Mark Stevens before the ceremony started, and Mark, actually, when I was a little kid, Adam Wilmore was my baseball coach and had a connection with Mark, and he brought Mark down to this little baseball camp, and Mark helped me be a better pitcher. And that was a camp that he helped out at, and I still remember some of the same things that he talked about that. But as Coach James talked about, you know, the pitcher that I chose that Coach Kearney said we needed a pitcher for, the moniker, it's a picture that I have on my desk since I started working, and that's the picture that I have with Coach Thwaites. Coach Thwaites was a person that believed in me. When we think about what that belief meant, there was something in practice that he would always scream. Because sometimes we didn't throw the ball a lot in our offense, but when we did, the one thing he'd always scream would be, make it catchable. Make it catchable. I could hear that always in my head. Because what we wanted him to do is we wanted to give that receiver a chance to catch the ball. And that's what athletics at Central Montcalm does. It gives kids chances. It gave me a chance to be part of a team, to be part of greater than something that I was as an individual. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my offensive line, because as a quarterback, you always have to mention your offensive line. But as Coach Thwaites talked about, make it catchable and give kids chances. It's funny that Coach James brought that story up, because I didn't know if I had another chance after that Tri-County game, 39-0. I still remember that score. I think the nose tackle was Jack Thomas, maybe his name, but I got sacked so many times, and I just remember thinking, is my career over? But Coach Thwaites took a chance on a sophomore and put me in that lineup, and he kept taking chances on me. And so he was like a second dad to me as well, and so those experiences, that's what Central Montcalm is about. It's about coming together as a community. I remember my senior year when we had the police escort going through Sheridan, and people were waving to us as we were going down to play Belgium. That's what Central Montcalm is about. It's about that community feel. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for this honor. I'm extremely humbled. Thank you again to the community. And just thank you to the community of Central Montcalm, because we'll always be green. Thank you.
Just had a major flashback there as David was talking about Coach Thwaites and yelling. Coach Thwaites was my basketball coach my senior year, and I do remember some yelling. More elaborate, but trust me. Speaking of the Thwaites family, our next presenters are Ryan Thwaites and Andy Spencer. Gentlemen.
Good evening. 30 years ago, it amazed me when I was driving up that it was that long ago, but 30 years ago, the man who would later become Matt's college basketball coach, Glenn Van Meeren, stood right here and talked about the relationships we have when we play basketball, when we do sports. And he talked about two things. He talked about at the end of the season, you cut down the nets, you throw the net in the trophy case on the trophy, and that season's over. But the relationships that you have with your teammates and your coaches, those last forever, and that's represented here. Matt was, the relationship that we had, I just feel incredibly privileged, I think Matt does too, that we had a chance to not only be brothers, but also be teammates. Because those are two very brotherly types of relationships. And you know, I'm also just very thankful that we have an opportunity to be teammates and brothers here at Central Montcalm. Obviously, Matt and Brian together had a lot of ups. There were downs as well. You know, when Matt was 14, he didn't end up playing that season on the team that he thought he wanted to play on, and how he reacted to that was very indicative of him as a person. He didn't get down. He had his down times, but overall he kept his chin up, he kept working, and he worked hard, and 4 years later, was inspiring young kids getting to the final, getting to the quarterfinals and winning the regional championship. So it's been just an absolute honor. There were a lot of, to play with Matt. There were a lot of leaders on the team that Matt and Brian and I played on together. They were leaders then, and they're leaders now. And I think Matt might have been the best of the bunch, in my opinion. He's got a fantastic job to show that leadership now as a superintendent at Coopersville, and I just am honored to be here. And Matt, congratulations. Brian, I'll let you have the last 2 minutes.
I feel very privileged to be one of the introducers for Matt. This Hall of Fame induction is so well deserved. He's been like a little brother to me for many years. I have been truly blessed through my career to have played many 5-on-5s and 3-on-3 basketball games with him. And in my opinion, he's still the best point guard I've ever played with, and probably against. He could score when he wanted, make any pass that was needed, play defense and rebound with anybody. Matt was the complete player. But I just don't reflect on Matt's basketball skills. He brought so much more to our team. His leadership, his work ethic, his determination, dedication. But even more impressive for me was his drive. And Matt would know, Matt had something that I call the eye of the tiger. It's a drive for excellence that you don't learn in practice or games, or you're taught in a classroom. You're born with it. And Matt hated to lose. He brought these qualities to every practice and game, which made us a better team each year. We won league championships, a district, a regional, and we're state quarterfinalists because he was our floor leader. Ahead now, just a few years, Matt continues to use his skill sets to make communities better. He was the principal at Sparta, and now the superintendent at Coopersville. These communities are now better off because of Matt's leadership and drive. So truly, I thank you, Matt, for what you've done for our basketball family. And I also thank what you've done for me. So to my friend and brother, congratulations.
Just a quick note, you'll notice that Matt is not getting a medal tonight. It's not that we don't like him, but he's already in the Hall of Fame as a team member of the 1990-91 basketball team. So just to keep his trophy case minimalized.
I'm a mess, but I'm going to try to get through this. I already have one of those medals in my wife's purse, so I'm kidding. Just a few things. Evidently, there's some pictures of me with hair and a table. If you could leave those on that green table on your way out, I would appreciate that. David, you mentioned Flint Bowers. I started crying again. That's how it started. And this many years later, when I think about it, it so crushes me. So, you know, have to start with some things. And the Hall of Fame committee, obviously, thank you very much. What a great community building and sustaining event this is. I thank my wife, Elaine. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's back there with my family right now. Eli, Jake, wave, if you would. Yep, those are my boys, my girls in isolation. So, are we FaceTiming her? Yeah, so she's hearing this, I think. They're all worried I'm going to embarrass them, and I probably will. I would also like to thank my teammates. You know, basketball is a team sport. Jason, thank you for being here, and everyone else. You guys are coming in with us today, so thank you for that. Mom and Dad, Andy and Molly, I love you all. Mom and Dad, you always supported my passion for basketball. You always gave me opportunities to get better, and I thank you. Andy's the greatest teacher and mentor I've ever had, and I've had great ones. If any of you in this room think you learned about competition or drive or leadership from me, you're actually learning it from Andy. I probably just said it a little bit louder than he would. So I'm going to end here with a story. It's not a short story, so I apologize for that. But it's a reflection of how things were for us as a team and how it's so much different now than it is back then. And, you know, my kids didn't have a chance. We don't have huddle. We don't have all these videos that you can access and keep for years, so they never really saw us play. So I'm going to bring you back, and if you are on these teams or in this place, everything but one small detail is accurate. These things happen. And so I want to bring you into Montebella's gym in 1991. And they were a great team. And we were a very good team. It is packed in there to the rafters, okay? And there's college coaches, there's pep bands, there's popcorn. It is so hot in there that you slip and fall down sometimes. Just because of the heat from all the people and the intensity. And that's one of the things that's so much different. When we slipped and fell, we got back up and then tried to get back in the play and make a stop or a basket, right? Nowadays, if there's even a trace of slippage or moisture, the event comes to a complete halt, okay? The game manager is out there waving their hands. There's 3 guys with mops, maybe girls, cleaning it up. One person is just looking for any ounce of moisture that needs to get out before they can start playing again. Us, slip, fall, get back up. You know, you're going by your team opponent, you're dribbling, you sit down on the ground, you might do one of those, keep going. The refs yell, and you just say, hey, I didn't see him. He slipped. And they're like, yeah, I guess you make a point there. So just really intense atmospheres. During that time, now, in this day and age, when we're taking the event to a halt, moms are exploding out of the bleachers to bring their sons cold water bottles that's filtered in like 17 degrees, okay? They're running down there like Uber Eats. Here's your water, honey. The dads are like, I'm so glad my dad isn't here to watch this right now. And it's just different. If you wanted water in that gym in Montebella, you had to be both weak and tough at the same time. You had to be weak because you were going to admit publicly you weren't tough enough to wait 5 minutes and go into the locker room and get a drink of water. You had to be tough because the drinking fountain's on the other end of the gym, and you've got to walk by the opponent's crowd, and I'll get to that story in a minute. And it's one thing getting there. When you approach it, we had 2 stall units to get a drink. Okay, the one side had like this sphere of water that just pelted out water and went down the drain. It's rusty, corroded, it stinks. You have to be able to bench 185 pounds to be strong enough to make the button go down to get the water out, the lukewarm water out like just a trickle. Over here is gushing. Here you can barely get a drink. And then you've got to walk back. Oh, back to the 185 pounds. I couldn't get a drink in this building until I was a senior because I wasn't strong enough to get the water out of the faucet. So, the crowds, and this is what happened at Carson City, but their student section threw coins at us, hard. And like, I got hit, I wore glasses, and it was like, shh. And then one hit me in the head, and I'm looking at Brian, and I was like, they're throwing coins? And he's like, yeah. And like, today, it would have got, everything would have stopped again, right? There would have been meetings between schools to try to make better friendships. There would have been cancellations of schools so we could investigate and no one else get hurt. And I just look at the guy and I'm like, we're going to kill your team. And I see your girlfriend sitting next to you and I'm going to try to get a couples only skate with her, her RJ's roller cast on a Saturday night green. And that was it. Right? Then we go out and we play the game. So now we're going back to Montebello, and again, it's packed. And they are the Mustangs. And they've got this red Mustang. And the Mustang runs over to our student section and starts to instigate our student section. And one of our leaders went UFC full send on this thing. Right in the snout. Horse goes down. Our people are going crazy. This is a true story. They're going crazy. I'm warming up. I'm saying, Terry's just taken on a 15-year felony. We better win this game. Principal and administration grab the kid. This is another difference. Grabs the kid by the arms, dragging him out of the gym. You know, his dad standing up there. His mom's. The principal's going, he's suspended. The dad's like, I know. Tell him to shovel the snow when he gets home. Would you please get the driveway cleared off? In this day and age, that would be a board meeting. That would be a lawsuit. Here we go. My son was harassed publicly by the principal. He was assaulted by the principal. Obviously, that animal was bullying my son. He had every right to punch him. He should not be suspended. Times were different. So the game starts, and Brian and I are out there with captains. And they used to let us talk to like one captain. They'd say, okay, who's going to talk on your team's behalf today? And Brian is just stoic and just the man and just points at me. And thinking back, I'm like, he's thinking, I'm about to score 35. I'm about to grab 20 rebounds. I've got Ivy League and Big Ten coaches here watching me. I don't have time to talk to you during the game. I'm thinking, yeah, I could probably squeeze in a couple minutes for you guys. So I'll do that. So late in the game, back and forth, close game. We're losing by 1. I walk over to the ref and I say, sir, every time we're going into the lane, every time we're trying to get to the basket, they are killing us. He put his hand up and he said, Matt, you're just mad because we're winning, and ran down the court. I found out later, that's one that probably wasn't accurate, he didn't say that. But I found out later, his son was the horse that got punched in the snow. So it all worked out and we won the game. I was so thankful for the time that I played here. I was so thankful for the guys that I got to play with and play for. And I'm so thankful for Central Montcalm. I'm sure some of that was true. Our next presenter in the evening is Mike Emery. Mike, come up, please.
Okay, I'll be pleased to introduce Hall of Fame honoree Mark Stevens. So from 1982 to 1984, Mark has left his mark at Central Montcalm. Better do this. With both basketball and baseball. And with basketball, he was awarded Team MVP, All-Conference, and All-State honorable mention. So after leading his team in scoring, assists, and steals, he received a scholarship offer to play at Adrian College. So, let me see, All-State scholarship offer. That just might get you into the Hall of Fame, right? But believe it or not, basketball was not Mark's best sport. So as a 3-year varsity baseball player, Mark was first team All-Conference, first team All-Region a couple of times, team MVP. He set 4 high school pitching records, 2 of which stand still today after 37 years. He had the record for wins in a season with 9. And what makes that even more impressive is that was back when they only played 20-25 games a year, and they now play more like 30-35. But it was still 11 years before Brian Sawdy moved that record up to 10 wins, and Mark still remains the runner-up to this day. So his senior year, he set the record for strikeout average per 7-inning game with an amazing 12.1 strikeout average. We only play 7-inning games. You know, that's almost 2 strikeouts an inning. And that record stood for 35 years, but was just broken a couple of years ago. He threw 7 shutouts in his high school career. That record still stands. It's hard to hold a team to 0 runs, but he had 5 of those shutouts in his senior season, which is still the single season record. Okay. For obvious reasons, Mark received many college scholarship offers. He landed at Central Arizona College for 2 years, where he garnered all-conference and all-regional recognition. Now, this led to something that is a dream come true for most young baseball players. He got to hear these words. The Milwaukee Brewers, in the 17th round of the 1990 Major League Baseball Draft, select Mark Stevens of Stanton, Michigan. So, okay, I've already heard the applause. I already know. I was going to ask, are there any other of you that would enjoy hearing those words? Yeah, my hands up. So he went on to play 7 years in the Brewers, Expos, Marlins, and Tigers organizations. His professional accomplishments include 3 league championships, 2 all-star selections. He was team MVP twice. He set the Salt Lake City records for strikeouts in a game with 15. And consecutive complete games with 4. Who throws complete games anymore, right? He threw a no-hitter against the Medicine Hat Blue Jays. Overall in his professional career, he threw 500 innings and entered with an ERA of 3.82. Impressive stuff. And here's a little trivia. When the Florida Marlins, they weren't always around, right? Seems like a while now, but when they were first forming in 1992, Mark was the very first Marlin to play under contract. Cool stuff. Many of you that know Mark know his wife, Wendy Anderson, who he's been married to for 34 years because they were high school sweethearts. Wendy is right here, and all his family are through here, so congratulations. He continued involvement with athletics as they raised their 3 sons in Rockford. He was VP of the Rockford Little League 3 years, coached elite summer baseball for 12 years, worked with Rockford high school pitchers in the off-season for 10. Even here, I can't remember where it was, but he worked with some baseball pitchers around here too a little bit, so he got around helping out. He's been a financial advisor with Waddell and Reed in Grand Rapids for the last 20 years. And if you want to have an enthusiastic conversation with Mark, just ask him about his family. His wife, their boys, and a daughter-in-law too have their own success stories and accomplishments. And a lot of his family is right up here in front. It's an impressive thing. So, without further ado, I give you the Milwaukee Brewers 17th round selection of the 1990 Major League Baseball Draft.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Mike, and if anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, it's him. I think he owns about half the baseball records at Central Montcalm, so thanks, Mike, for being here. I also have to congratulate all the other honorees
opportunities tonight. It's a true privilege to be honored this way. Central Montcalm was my home, great place to grow up. So congratulations to everyone. I remember David, working with David at the camp. He was an amazing young little kid at the time and turned into a pretty darn good athlete. And Brian and Matt, obviously remember them as well. It's great to see what success that everyone's had. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee. It's got to be difficult, making those decisions. A lot of good athletes have come through Central Montcalm, so it's got to be tough. Really glad that the Hall of Fame has been established, so thank you for that. Coach Peterson, have to thank you. You're an inspiration. You were probably the most laid-back coach I ever had, but you just let us go out and play. And Central Montcalm's had so many good baseball players, and due in large part to your commitment, your contribution. So thank you. I have to thank my family as well. My parents who are here, my grandparents who unfortunately are not here, my brothers and sister. Well, I have one brother, but brother-in-law, sister-in-law. My brother-in-law is here. He gave me a job every off-season after I got done playing baseball. Didn't make enough money playing minor league baseball to last us throughout the year, so Dean was great about giving me a job when I came back. And also I have to thank my wife. We were high school sweethearts. We started dating here in 9th grade. She stuck with me for 34 years. Playing professional baseball, it's like you get a call that you either got traded or you got a contract, and it's like you got to be there in 3 days, 2 days, whatever. Wendy was like on board all the time. Where do we go next? She was absolutely amazing, and I couldn't have done it without her. So thank you, Wendy. She was a pretty good athlete as well. She was a gymnast and a cheerleader, and our kids are fairly good athletes. And Mike's right. I do like to talk about my kids. I'm extremely proud of them. Our youngest is playing college baseball at Cornerstone. Our middle son is a sponsored skateboarder. Our oldest son has had the opportunity to play professional baseball the last couple of years, so it's been fun. Our daughter-in-law, his wife, is a professional runner. She qualified for the Olympic trials in the marathon. And our soon-to-be daughter-in-law, Stacy, who is our youngest son's wife, fiance is here. She was an All-American distance runner at Grand Valley. So a lot of good athletes in the family, but probably the most important thing is, as good as they are at athletics, they're even better people. So that's what we're most proud of. I had one other person I have to thank. This is a unique situation. As an athlete, you have to be motivated, right? I mean, you show up early, you stay late, you get the job done. You do whatever you have to do to succeed and move to the next level. I had a coach, and I doubt my parents remember this, but I had a coach in Trufen, which is where I grew up, and I lived until 4th grade. I had a Little League coach in Trufen, and he gave me the opportunity at, probably, I think I was 9, gave me the opportunity to pitch for the first time, and I stunk it up. I mean, I bet I walked 6 or 7 guys, and I probably hit a few, and anyway, afterwards, that was a mess. I was a ball of tears, and he came up to me and said, he tried to comfort me, but said, Mark, maybe pitching's not the best thing for you. You know you're probably going to pitch again. So that served as motivation for me for the next probably 20 years. So I don't know where that coach is at today. I don't know if he's still alive even, but he was a big motivator in my life. In my pro career, 7 years traveling. We moved 19 times in 7 years. It was crazy, like being in the military. I wouldn't trade it for the world, though. It was great. I did get selected in the 1990 draft that year. The first pick was Chipper Jones. Obviously, he was a Hall of Famer, great baseball player. But there was another pitcher, a left-handed pitcher. I was a lefty. We were kind of similar. He got selected in the 22nd round. I was in the 17th round. So I was 5 rounds ahead of him. He ended up having a little bit better career than I did. He played for 18 years in the big leagues. Hall of Fame nominee this year, Andy Pettit. So I'm sure his bank account's probably a little bit bigger than mine. He had a lot more success than I did, but I can always say I was drafted ahead of Andy Pettit. With minor league baseball, it can be it can be brutal and it can be beautiful all at the same time. It's brutal from the standpoint of you show up at the park every day. You literally have maybe 5 or 6 days off the whole summer. And you're there 8, 10 hours a day and showing up early, staying late. It's a grind. Long bus rides, living conditions. When I played, I mean, minor league baseball players make no money. Yeah, maybe you got drafted in whatever round and you got a signing bonus, but it's pretty meager existence during the season. So living conditions can be tough. You pool your resources with your teammates, rent a car, rent a house, whatever. Fans can be great. They can be brutal too. If you have a bad outing, they're letting you know. I've always wondered what it would be like if I showed up at their office the next day and it was yelling at them and calling them a bum. I guess that's not how it works. It's beautiful from the standpoint that there's nothing like going out on a field, a freshly cut field with just well manicured, crisp lines. It's pretty special. Going to the park every day knowing that you have a chance to make it to the big leagues. Going to the park every day, playing a game that you love and getting paid for it. It's pretty amazing. So it's brutal and beautiful at the same time. Kids, little kids, waiting for you to come out so you can sign autographs. It was fun. A lot of memories. I can remember pitching against Pedro Martinez, another Hall of Fame guy. That guy was something else. I can remember getting a home run hit off me by Pedro Guerrero, who was a long-time big leaguer. Some of the more funny memories, goofing around with Bill Murray in the dugout. He was a team owner of ours in Salt Lake City, and it was pretty interesting hearing some stories from him. I had an interesting thing happen my first year of pro ball. We want to make a good impression, right, with the manager. We had our first road trip, and the bus was leaving at 5 a.m. So we got to get up at like 4. This was in Helen, Montana. And it was kind of cool, beginning of the year. I had to go out and start the car, warm it up, get ready. There were 4 of us, teammates that lived together, and go out and start the car, get it going, come back in, finish getting ready. We go back out to get in the car because we got to be at the stadium, right, because we're going to leave. And the car's locked. I locked the keys in the car. And we're leaving in half an hour, road trip. And if we don't make it, we're going to get fined or released or who knows what. So we had a rental car, and I broke the window with a bat to get in the rental car so we could get to the stadium on time. Funny stuff. I can remember we had a clubhouse kid, and they did laundry for us. This kid was Japanese, full Japanese. He was over here for the summer. He really spoke very little English, and part of his job was to do our laundry, right? So I remember on the cover of Baseball Weekly one week, there was a picture of him holding up a uniform. He had used Drano instead of Clorox bleach to wash our uniforms. Just shredded the uniforms. So that was pretty funny. I can remember sending bat boys down to see the umpire and asking for the box of curveballs. Or the key to the batter's box. We had a lot of fun with the bat boys. I can remember in Kenosha, Wisconsin, starting the year out one year, in April. It was cold, it was freezing, it was snowing. I was in the bullpen at that time, down in the bullpen. It was kind of separated from the rest of the field, and there was even like a little shelter that we could sit in. It was so cold, we started gathering up all the trash we could find and little sticks, and we built a fire and tried to stay warm. So the last thing I'll share is one of the memories. Salt Lake City was such a great place to play. So many good fans. We averaged about 10,000 fans a game. In minor league baseball, that's pretty amazing. But I remember one game in particular, we sold out, and they had no place to put more people, so they decided, well, let's put them on the warning track. So they roped off the warning track and had fans lining the warning track, standing, watching the game for 9 innings. So it was pretty crazy. 7 years in the minor leagues was pretty amazing. It was a fun, lifelong dream. I didn't make it to the big leagues like I would have liked to. But, I have to thank the people here, Coach Peterson, everyone else. Just a great place to grow up. Small town. My mom owned a beauty shop in town for years and years. I feel like I knew everybody. Just a great place to be. Central Montcalm holds a special part in my heart. Just a lot of good family, a lot of good memories, a lot of good teachers. Man, Mr. Whitmer, gal I remember him as my basketball coach, and I think it was 7th grade, something like that. Just a great place to be. So I'm truly humbled and honored to be an honoree along with everyone else. And I want to thank you all for your time and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Our next presenter, and I'm sorry to do this to you guys again, Matt Spencer.
And then the horse gets up. It's my distinct honor to introduce what I believe is the greatest Green Hornet of all time, and that's Brian Quakes. Brian is the epitome of lead by example. He's a man of few words, but he gets it done across the board as a citizen first. I mean, he's unbelievably nice and kind. And in the classroom, he was also a valedictorian here. And then on the field of competition, to be his teammate, it was such a secure feeling knowing that he was going to get it done every game for us. And just a couple quick stories of how unselfish Brian is. We went through a stretch in 1991, and Coach Kearney was upset, and rightfully so. And the Saturday morning, he is getting after us hard because we're not rebounding. And we're in the locker room, so we're not even out there. And he was getting after us. And so we're all listening, and at the end of it, Coach walks out, and Brian says, "My bad." Brian had 18 rebounds, but he takes that ownership for his team at his home, at his work, and for sure in the field of competition. One other quick story, he could have averaged 40 points or more. He could have been one of those J. Smith guys that scores like 2,500 points in high school, but he didn't, but he could have. He is a team-first guy. We're at Shepherd, and he and I are shooting around before the game, and two of their kids, they didn't throw coins at us, but they're running their mouths, and we just kind of look at each other. And Brian, before every game, listened to Rocky III, Eye of the Tiger soundtrack. That's how we got pumped up. So now we're coming out for the game. We remember the guy talking trash. They turn on that music. And I just start laughing because I'm like, he is going to kill these guys. And he did. And, partway through the third quarter, he had 36. He needed 2 baskets to set the school record. And he could have done that any night he wanted to. There's no doubt in my mind. Coach had said, "Hey, you're right there at the school record. Do you want it?" No. My teammate's time to play right now. And that type of leadership he did pervasively. Brian, you're an unbelievable friend to me. You are an outstanding son, husband, brother, coach, teammate, and your dad is very, very proud of you. Brian Quakes.
All right, I'll try to improve on my last week. So, I am truly honored to receive the induction to the Hall of Fame at Central Montcalm, and truly obviously humbled by Matt's words. I look at this honor not just as an individual accomplishment, but as a team award. I wouldn't have received or earned any of my career awards without my whole team. So what I'd like to do is thank my whole team. First, my parents for always teaching me and pushing me to best. Best I could be. My dad. Sorry. For always spending countless hours in the gym videotaping my shots, taking my buddies to camps and 3-on-3s. I miss them every day. And of course my mother. Her ritual of leaving the gym at the end of, excuse me, here, hold on. I gotta get this out better than I am. So of course I can't forget my mother. She would leave at the end of every game. Her ritual was to take the stress away from me, so that I wouldn't feel it at the end of the game. So I thank her for that. I thank my brothers for always supporting me and going to my basketball games through my high school and college careers. I'm sure they still have splinters in their you-know-whats from all the bleachers. I thank the rebounders, young men that would come up after school on weekends to chase down my misses, and they never complained. But number one, I'd like to thank my coaches and my teammates. I was blessed to be able to play on 4 varsity basketball teams here at Central Montcalm. Each one of them made me a better basketball player and pushed me to excel. I thank my coaches and teammates also for believing and trusting in me. I was honored to be part of 4 league championship teams, a district, a regional, champ, and a state final. And obviously, I said before, I thank Matt for his drive and pushing me to be to new levels. I think of all the hours of basketball that we played on courts, on his parents' driveway with me riding my bike down there about 6 miles, and on the streets. I wouldn't trade that for the world. So again, I'd like to thank my team for this award and receiving this induction to the Central Montcalm Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Got a few other of these up here too that you guys have forgotten. Our last of our individual inductees is going to be introduced by Carrie, Kelly, and Kim. What's that?
I just want to say I'm scared as hell.
Is this a roast?
I'm certainly not as tall as everybody either. I thought maybe I'd need a step stool, but we'll save that for the bathroom. So before we begin, is there anyone here who would like to come and speak kindly on our dad's behalf? Because we aren't just here to give him a hard time. We did think it was a roast. Or at least payback for all the years he gave us and probably a lot of you a hard time. But seriously, thank you for being here tonight to be part of recognizing his accomplishment as coach. Yeah, this is going to be a little awkward as we move around. So yeah, we're Jim's daughters, and we are here to celebrate and honor his coaching career. You know, officially 35 years. 29 here at Central Montcalm, where we all went to school as well and know many of the people in this room. 6 of those years, you know, at one of those other schools down the road with purple and gold, but all great coaching. You know, and that's officially. Unofficially, I had to get up this morning, take my son to a swim meet, and he wasn't feeling it. He just was not. He had a bad meet on Thursday. He just didn't want to get there today, and laying in bed going, God, I don't want to get up either. I want to sleep in. I want to do anything else but this right now. But, you know, in my head are always my dad's words and all those words of encouragement that you get from a coach all the time. And I just laid there and said everything I could think of. And he got up, we made breakfast, got out the door. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that had my dad as a coach that, you know, that it's unending, because if you were ever coached by him, you hear those things. You know, you hear those things, you say them to your children, and you say them to yourself when, you know, sometimes you're just not really ready to get up and go. So, officially 35 years, but I'm going to say, you know, just simply a lifetime.
And I actually would like to see a show of hands of anybody who was coached by my dad. So you can look around this room and you can see the impact that he's had in this community. And so I want to thank you all for being on his teams and for giving him a reason to do what he does best. So thank you. So knowing him as a coach is, or having him as our dad is way different than knowing him as a coach. So actually to be here tonight and to read his list of accomplishments is a little mind-blowing to me. He spent 60 seasons coaching. And he coached a variety of sports from high school football, 7th, 8th grade, and freshman boys basketball, high school boys and girls track and field, and high school boys and girls golf. His teams and his players experienced varying levels of success over the years, and the majority of that coming from the golf course.
So to continue with that, yeah, golf was a big part of his life and a big part of my life and all of our lives, even down to his grandchildren. His boys' golf teams were CSAA champions in the years of 1993, 94, 96, 98, and 99. I also played on his team during a lot of those years, and I had the privilege of having him for a coach as well. And I also had the privilege of getting extra practice with the boys every season, so that was a blessing. Among the young men he coached, there were 31 all-conference players, 1 all-state player, and in 1996 he was named the Boys Regional Golf Coach of the Year and the Daily News Golf Coach of the Year.
Switcheroo.
All right. Well,
Good thing there's only 3 of us.
well, his girls' teams were successful as well, and that's really no surprise given the fact that he was outnumbered 4-1 on a daily basis in his own home. So he got a lot of practice there, and you know, he started his career at Central Montcalm coaching me. And let me tell you, I was probably the worst athlete he ever coached. Not so much in my skill level, which, you know, is debatable as well, but I was an emotional perfectionist. I was temper tantrum on the course and all those good things. So, you know, I think maybe some of his later successes were having to deal with probably the worst athlete he ever had very early on in his career. So you're welcome. And I know you're probably going to roast me about it later, so I had to get out there first. And I am sorry, and I'm really glad that you have persevered and we get to play golf on Tuesday nights throughout the summer. So his girls' teams did reach state finals. Obviously, one of them is here tonight. But in 1999, in 2000, where they did place 8th in the state, and 2001, where the girls were regional champions and 9th in the state. He coached a total of 11 teams. 11 all-conference players, and in 1999 he received the title of Girls Regional Golf Coach of the Year, 2001 Girls State Golf Coach of the Year.
And if that wasn't enough, in 2013 he was inducted into the Michigan Interscholastic Golf Coaches Association Hall of Fame. On a personal note, our dad is one of the most positive people I know. Despite him losing his own dad when he was 20, and serving and surviving his service with the U.S. Navy in Vietnam. I have never personally seen my dad in a bad mood, but my mom's opinion may differ. And I think it is his positivity as well as his true caring and calm nature and passion for encouraging others to excel that made him the remarkable coach that he is.
Since retirement, he still enjoys golfing every week in the spring, through the fall with former fellow CM teachers and friends, and encouraging and fostering his love for the game with his grandchildren. 4 of them were here tonight. The other 2 unfortunately couldn't make it. So again, we want to thank our dad, and we're very, very proud of him. So please welcome to the podium, Mr. Coach Jim Whitmer.
Little inside joke, I played football for a coach 4 years. I've seen him in a bad mood.
True that.
Can you all hear me without that stupid thing? I spent 29 years in the classroom without it, and I'm afraid of it. Wow, what a night. I'm really trying to refocus myself here for a second. I have a couple complaints. Marty, I agree with you 100%. When David used to raise his hand in my class, I went, oh crap, now what? Because I knew he was smarter than I was. And Matt, I disagree totally with you. I never could get Brian to shut up. It is so great to see so many people that I haven't seen in a long time. So great to see all the athletes, all the hands that went up. I'm thinking, holy crap. I've been around an awful long time. I think I've been here too long, sometimes. I got to look at my notes. I wrote them here in the back. I was never good at that. I want to apologize, first of all. My being here tonight is a complete mistake. Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's a mistake. It started in 1972 when I was looking for a job. I'd just had spent 4 years in the Navy, 18 months in Vietnam, which was not really a garden spot on earth. And I got home. I'd spent 4 years at Central Michigan University, fearing for my life. Because at that particular time, the country was about as screwed up as it is right now. And to be on a college campus in 1970 was a pretty damn scary place to be. So I spent pretty much the 4 years I was at Central Michigan University hiding. I was really, as a Vietnam veteran, I was really afraid to admit it. I was afraid to really expose myself to all the riots, all the things that were happening on campus. Many of you are old enough to remember Kent State took place shortly, 1970, 1971. So I was interviewing for the job here at Central Montcalm with Del Tucker and Carl Arch, who were the principals at that time. And during the interview, I don't remember which one of them asked me, but they said, would you like to coach football? Whoa. That's probably a mistake. I graduated in high school in 1963. I hadn't been close to a football field. I hadn't really thought about football. I was more afraid about all the shelling going around me. And I thought, wow, that's probably a mistake to ask me to coach football. But I thought, again, dang, I really need the job. I just had, my first daughter had just been born. Who was one of those up here, who kind of grilled me here for a minute. And I had just moved to Sheridan, and I needed a job. So I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll take a chance. I'll say, yeah, I'll coach football. Well, that was really kind of interesting because I really didn't know much about football at the time. So I did a lot of reading, and fortunately, I had some good mentors. And 15 years later, I was still coaching football. I loved the sport. I really, really enjoyed doing what I was doing. 1978, the second mistake jumped up. Fred Cunningham, who was the athletic director at the time, called me into his office, and I thought, oh, Jesus, what did I do now? And Fred said, Jim, I'm in a bind here. I need a track coach. I went, oh, that's a mistake. The closest thing I'd ever been to track in my life was after high school baseball practice. If there was a home track meet, the coach, who I love dearly, would take us over to the track and say, boys, we're running tonight. We need to get in shape. So there we are, the whole baseball team. Got our baseball stuff on, got our cleats on, and we're running down Cinder Track. I thought, they want me to coach track. I'm not even sure if I understand what track is. Well, I thought, they must, and I knew they were in a bind. They needed a coach, and I thought, oh, what the heck, let's do it. So I bought every book I could find. I read about fartlek training, and I read about all kinds of stuff. I didn't understand it, still don't. But we really turned out to have a lot of fun. Right, Kelly?
Yeah.
My daughter Kelly, I had the honor of coaching her. She went to the state final 3 times as a long jumper, or a high jumper. I can't say I had a lot to do with that, but it was certainly a lot of fun coaching my daughter. The next mistake took place shortly after that when Carl Large called me into the office, who was the principal at the time. And Carl said, Jim, I need somebody to coach basketball. We need a 7th grade basketball coach. I thought, uh-oh, that's a mistake. Closest, the last time I'd played basketball, other than pickup games in the Navy and, you know, messing around with the guys on base and whatever, was 8th grade. And the problem was, I'd have loved to play basketball in high school, but all my friends grew and I didn't. I was still about like this, maybe 120 pounds. Yeah, how about that? And they want me to coach basketball. Well, a few of my players are here tonight. And now they will understand why we did suicides. Because I didn't know crap about coaching basketball. But I had some really, really good athletes. And they're all in the Hall of Fame right now. Brian, Matt, Jason, I don't know who else. David, did you play? No, I was out by then. But I really had, I had so much fun coaching 7th grade basketball because I saw all those guys in class the next day. They knew they were in trouble if they screwed up. 1989, the last mistake took place. No, not completely the last one, but the last memorable one. I was sitting in my classroom, toward the end of the school year, and Greg Kirchen, who was the golf coach at the time, came in the room, and we were good buddies. We played golf a lot. Our kids hung around together. We spent a lot of time together doing social kind of things. And Greg came in and said, Jim, I just took a job in Holland, Michigan. And I wanted to let you know, before I told the administration, that I was leaving. He says, I want you to take over the golf program. That's a mistake. I played golf, I love golf, I still play golf, but I didn't know if I could coach golf. Well, Greg, who had built a powerhouse here at Central Montcalm, they had just won the boys state championship. He had started the girls golf program, and he wanted me to be in charge. I said, Greg, I don't know if I can do that. He said, you can. He says, we played golf together. You know the game. He says, and I've watched you coach for 20 years. You're the man. I want you to do it. So I said, oh, well, what the heck? Well, you can see how it turned out. That was not a mistake. I was blessed for the next 13 years to have some of the most awesome athletes, and my daughter is wrong. She was not the worst player I ever coached. She might have been close. So we had just a hell of a 13-year run. Those girls gave their heart and soul to Central Montcalm. And in a few minutes, I'm going to honor 8 of them. They all need to be honored, but the 8 here today are very special. So, thank you very much. I guess that's it.
Thank you, Coach. So that ends the individual inductions for the evening. Next up would be our 1951 Stanton Rams boys basketball team. Here to say a few words about them is Chuck Miller.
Boy, this is really a tough act to follow, isn't it?
Charles Miller. I was a member of the 50-51 Stanton High School team. We have 3 members with us today from that team. We have Earl Crum. Where are you, Earl? Wave your hand. Larry Sutherland in the back. And myself. We would like to just take a few minutes to thank the Central Montcalm School for hosting this event. We would like to thank the members of the committee who is remembering us after 70 years. Did you believe that? 70 years ago in March, actually 71 years ago in March. It's a long time. And they remembered us and we appreciate it. We'd like to thank John Kearney, my athletic director. He spent a lot of time lining up our people. We were all over the country. Some of them are deceased. Some of them we can't even get a hold of. In 1950 and 51, the season started very slowly. First game we had November 28th. We beat a Goodreach City team at their house. It was a cold night, long drive, 60 miles up there. We beat them 43-39. Their next game was with Edmore, and we beat them 42-37. And Edmore, Lakeview, Carson City, Fulton had gyms with running tracks above the gym floor. You remember those? It was really tough shooting from the corners remember, you had to shoot them straight in, and we beat them. We were fortunate to have one of the best gymnasiums in the county at Stanton. Actually, Greenville had the best team probably at that time. And Sheridan probably was about the third best county team. After that, we played Howard City away. We beat them 55-22. Greenville home, 63-45. And if you remember, they were a Class B team, a little bit bigger than we were, and we beat them easily. And then we began to roll. Over the next 12 games, we scored 70 points in 3 games and 80 points in 4 games. The highest, I'm sorry here. Actually, then we went to Lakeview, and Lakeview had a very small gymnasium, and they had it just jam-packed for us. The paper said there were 1,000 people up there, and it's probably stretching the point, but you know, with one of those tracks around the top, how they are, they were just leaning over the top. I remember that, and probably they stretched it a little bit when they said that they had 1,000 people there, but there were a lot of people there. But we won the game easily. We beat them 51-31. The last game of the season, that was the 16th game. We were looking to run the season, and the last game of the season was at Fulton, and we had beaten them during the regular season 80-50. Well, they were waiting for us. They were gunning for us, and we were wanting to get a perfect season out of it. And they did something a little bit different that we weren't planning on. They played the stall game, you know, where they hold the ball, and we lucked out, and we beat them 37-36 for a perfect season. So that was wonderful. We were really all happy about that. And the Montcalm County Athletic Association, we had the perfect season over the champs. Then we went to the district, and we started out Greenville, and we beat Lakeview again for the second time. They had a good team, 58-49. We beat Sparta 65-24. We beat Shelby 55-27. We're the district champions, and our trophy's right down here. Then we went to the regionals. We played Michigan Christian. I'm not sure where that was located. I can't remember if we played in Greenville again or we played in Grand Rapids for the regionals. But as I said, we beat Michigan Christian 51-46, Lansing Everett 77-59, which is probably our best game of the year. They were a good Lansing Everett team, and we played a good game down there. We were regional champs then. We went to the quarterfinals in Grand Rapids, and we had a really tough game down in Grand Rapids. It was nip and tuck all the way. We beat Portland 45-20 to 42, 3-point difference there. And then we went down to Lansing to Section High School for the semifinals, and we lost, unfortunately, to Marlette 41-37. So we finished the year 22 wins and 1 loss. Okay, the people on the team that we would like to introduce now. Our coach was Coach Mike Budge. He was a coach that came out of Michigan State University, and we are he is being represented today by his son, Jeff Budge. Jeff? sitting over here.
We'd like to have the 51 team just line up here in front. Let me help you with it.
Okay, Ted Miller was a guard on the team, starting guard, tough guy to play against. I was a junior at that time, he was a senior. He was very quick and very difficult to get the ball down the floor, and you could not dribble the ball behind your back at that time. That was a no-no. We were showing off if you did that, so. Okay. Ted Miller. Kim Miller, his daughter, will be representing him. Gerald Ritter, we call him Duder. Nobody can figure out how his nickname Duder originated. Nobody knows. I talked to Sharon a few minutes ago, and she didn't know. Hansen was the center of our team. He was instrumental years ago getting the trophies back. But nobody really seems to know what happened to him. He, last time we knew he was in California. There's no record of the family in this area. But he was a good guy, good center. And as I say, he worked on getting the trophies back. They were lost at one time. And they're here with us now. So, next is Tom Hillis, representing him, or his wife, Althea Hillis. Those people are representing the people that are deceased. The living people, we have Merle Gavitt. He's being represented by his niece, Rachel Gavitt. Paul Bigelow. Paul really wanted to come, but he's an assisted living down in Grand Rapids. And his brother, Dick Bigelow, come forward. Dick is also on the Hall of Fame. He was inducted here a couple of years ago. John Reese was on the team. He lives in Indiana, but he was unable to come tonight, and there was nobody in his family that was available. So Tom Reese will get his medal from him a little later. Earl Crum, you have your medal already? Yes. Sutherland? There's his medal. Okay, and myself, I guess. Sure. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just for you.
Thank you.
What do you say, guys?
Very good, thank you.
All right. to the stage Coach Whitmer, if you're still around, for our last presentation of the evening.
I'm like a bad penny. I keep coming back. This is the best part of the night for me. As you've heard throughout the evening, it's all about team. It's all about teamwork. It's all about putting effort and desire and just all the things that go into athletics. Mike talked about it. Mark talked about it. Matt, Brian, they all mentioned it. That you are nothing without the team. Before I call these young ladies up, they ain't young anymore. I got to go back to my speech. I think I'd like to just run you through the history of Central Montcalm girls golf. Just give you the Reader's Digest, a very quick history of it. As I said earlier, 1989, I took over the golf program from Greg Kirchen. Greg had built a state-recognized golf program here at Central Montcalm. They won a state championship, they won regionals, they won tournaments. But what was lacking at that point in time was it was just boys golf. We had not evolved far enough in our society to allow girls golf. A few programs had girls golf. You could go into the city, East Grand Rapids, Northview, Kennewa Hills. Some of those schools at the time were all Division I, II schools that had ladies programs. Out here in the cornfield, we still hadn't gotten that far. If you were a girl and as talented as Marianne or Maria or Steph or Amanda, if you were as talented as any of the girls that I had on any of my girls' golf teams, you played with the boys, because there were no girls' golf programs. 1989, the first team I coached was the spring of 1990. And we had, Carrie, how many do we have? Do we have 5 players? 6. We had 6 players at the time. My daughter and 5 others. If we were going to play an organized golf match at that period of time, we had to go to Traverse City, Ludington, Grand Rapids. How far else did we go? Portage, south of Battle Creek or Jackson. We had to travel our butts off just to find a golf match because there was nothing here. In fact, Montcalm County only had 2 golf courses. A little 9-holer over here at Howland Lake, a little 9-holer up at Edmore. And we were playing these teams that were playing state finals. We're playing the Birmingham Brother Rices, the real powerhouses in the state. At the end of the 1990 season, I sat down with that young man right there, John Kearney. I said, John, we got to do something. And he agreed. By the way, the best athletic director I've ever worked with. Thanks, John. Well, John and I sat down and we were kind of brainstorming. What do we do? How do we get better? How do we make a girls' program as good as the boys' program? And we come up with two things. Number one, we had to play the toughest schedule we could find. You don't get better unless you play the best. And we decided we're going to play the best. We're probably going to get our butts kicked. We're probably going to go home and say, whoa, what happened? But we're going to play the best. The second thing we kicked around was, how do we get more girls involved in playing golf because we know they can? I have daughters. I have grandkids. We're pretty damn good at it. John and I talked about trying to put together a league for women's golf. So we started at it, and John was the spearhead. I don't know how many phone calls he had to make. I don't know how many people he had to talk to. I don't know what he did. But we put together a thing called the Mid-Michigan Women's Golf League. The first one to take place in this area. We had Greenville, who had a golf team at the time. We had Alma, who had a golf team. We had us. Who else?
Portland.
We have Portland.
Ithaca. Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant,
And then
that's
us.
right, Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant was a powerhouse. Greenville was a powerhouse. And we got them all together and we built the thing called the Mid-Michigan Women's Golf League. Golf exploded. Other schools looked at it and said, my gosh, we have to do this for our ladies. And over a period of time, we had a pretty dang good league. That was in 1990. My daughter played on that team, and I don't care what she says, she wasn't the worst one. In fact, she was my number 2 player. A young lady by the name of Heather Hoekstra was the number 1 player, and we made 1 player to the state that year. Heather made it, I don't know, by a couple strokes. Carrie missed it, I think by 3 or 4. It was real close. We almost sent 2 our first year to the state. Awesome. Things didn't change again until about 1995. We were now having, instead of 5 or 6 players a year, we had enough girls at such Montcalm interested in playing golf that we needed a JV program. Awesome. Just fantastic. We made one of the smartest, dumbest moves we ever made in our life. We hired a young guy who I'd had as a 7th grade student, Eric Thomas. As we all know, unfortunately, Eric is not with us. I wish he was, because he taught me how to be a coach. Eric, at the time, had just finished golf management program. He played on the Central Montcalm boys team. And we hired him to be the JV coach and my assistant. Eric knew so much more about the golf swing than I had ever thought. And not only that, but he knew course management. Eric was probably the best thing that happened to us. He taught our girls how to play golf. He had a very unique philosophy, and anybody who plays the game should do this. And I swear to it works, right, girls? Eric said, and my granddaughter back there is smiling because she knows what's coming. Eric had the philosophy that you don't change the golf swing, you learn how to play with what you got. If you're a slicer, learn how to play it. Don't try to fix it. If you're a hooker, that's all right too. He taught me, because I was beating my head against the wall, he taught me, don't try to change the swing, change how you use the swing. And the other thing that is so simple is course management. He said, you know, when you play golf, you're not playing against the opponent. You're playing against the golf course. If you beat the golf course, you beat the opponent. Right, Naomi? I don't know how many times she's heard that. So, God bless you, Eric. Thank you. You made me a better coach. That was about 1990-something, 5. I knew we were getting better. We had a JV program. We had girls excited about playing golf. And in 1997, it happened. And it was one of those aha moments. Thank you, Jesus. It happened. It happened at Holland Lake Golf Course. We were playing Greenville, who was the bully on the block at that time in the MMWGL and Michigan Women's Golf League. And they had a young lady by the name of Megan Cushman, all-stater, best golfer in the area, best lady golfer in the area. But I knew in my heart that we could beat them. So I put my daughter, Kimberly, stand up, Kim. She's short like I am. That's why I don't want her to stand up. I put my daughter, Kimberly, who was my #1 player, up against Megan that night. And I just had this strange feeling. We were so close to being good. And I knew when they walked off the 9th green what had happened. Kim had a smile from here to here. Megan had tears running down her eyes. Kim beat her. How many strokes? 5. First time that Megan Cushman had been beaten in MMWGL play. Not only that, but she set the school record that still stands. She shot 1 over par at Holland Lake Golf Course that night. The girls on that team looked at what had just happened and went, whoa, we can play golf. There we went. It was uphill, it was downhill, it was over the hill, it was everything from there. I gotta look at my notes. 98 were better. Eric had moved on, pursuing a career as a golf professional. I think he was in Florida at the time, maybe. Hated to lose the man, but he also had to pursue his career. So we made the next best move. I needed an assistant coach, and I hired a guy I was teaching with, or John and I did, Dave Martin. Dave Martin was the thing that put us over the top. He didn't know the most about golf. He wasn't the best swing guru ever. By God, that guy knew how to work with kids. And he was the yin to my yang. I needed him. I needed somebody who could keep us loose, tell a stupid, funny joke, get the kids laughing before a big match, and just pushed us over the top. In 1998, and I'm going to read from the nomination form that I sent in. In 1998, 1999, I'm sorry. The 1999 team was the first team in school history to qualify for the state, first girls team, to qualify for the state tournament. They were also the first team in school history to win a tournament. They qualified for the state finals. Unfortunately, we lacked one thing, experience. We didn't know how to finish at the state final, and we didn't get a chance to play the second day. But that 99 team put us over the top. The 2000 team also qualified. Again, they were probably as good or better than any of the teams we've had, but they were unlucky. Just unlucky. We finished second in the league, we finished third at the regional, but we did qualify for the state final. That leads us to the 2001 team. The 2001 team won the regional tournament. They won the MMGL championship. They won the Central Montcalm Invitational. They finished second, third, fifth, and ninth in 4 other tournaments. They finished ninth at the state finals. They broke the school record for 18-hole play twice. They broke their own record. They shot a 368 at North Star. And finally, we've had the experience. We had 2 players who had played in 3 state finals, and we had 2 other players that had played in 2 state finals. We were there. Let me take a minute to bring them up. Cindy, come on down. Cindy was our #1 player. She went to 3 state finals. She was our team leader. And I gave her a nickname that I still use today, Cindy. Trish. This was our #2 player. She went to 3 state finals, and she was our comic relief.
Yes. Hello.
And she's still here. anything fluster this kid, except for the time she fell backward into a sand trap.
Hey, so I had a really good shot on the
I know you
green.
did.
I had a great shot on the green, and then I was next to, I hit a sand trap behind me, and I fell backwards.
We affectionately nicknamed her Motor because she never shut down. The next two I'm going to call up together. Mary Ann and Emily. Mary Ann and Emily were our twins. They were our 4 and 5 player most of the year. They, I could rotate them. I could put them wherever I needed them. If I had somebody I knew I could do a little gamesmanship with, I could move them around, and they were always there. I could always count on either both of them or always one of them having a countable score. So, Annie Ann? Next two I'm going to call up together also. I'm going to call up Jessica and who am I looking for? I don't want Amanda yet. Yeah, I want Steph. Yeah, I'll bring Steph. Jessica and Steph were our 5 and 6 players for most of the year. Again, if I needed a 5th scorer or if I needed help because one of these guys had a bad match, I could always count on these two guys. The professor, and she literally is, going to Purdue University to teach veterinary medicine. And Mighty Mike. Shorter than me.
My swing was powerful.
But he was. That's why you're Mighty Mike. All right, the last two. Amanda and Maria. Come on up. These two young ladies, I can't say enough about. Maria was one of the steadying forces on the team. She was reliable, always could count on her to have a good score. And she was always happy. I loved her for that. She still is. And Amanda. Amanda brought something to this team that nobody else could have brought. She brought her grandpa. To know her grandpa is to love her grandpa. Her grandpa had a huge influence on me. I looked around at that man. He was there. He supported the team. One of the kindest, gentlest guys I ever met. And I looked at him and I said, you know, if I'm ever a grandpa, and if I'm ever lucky enough to have grandkids, I'm going to be there and support them like he supported Amanda. Right, kids? The night of the 2001 Central Montcalm Hall of Fame golf team. I want to say. I'm never done. Yeah, I know. My family's back there going, stop, stop! Just two real quick things. First of all, I would make a huge mistake tonight if I didn't have my wife of 53 years stand up. I'm not done with you. This lady has stood by my side for 53 years. She's the rock I lean on. I would not ever have had the coaching success, coaching wonderfulness that I've had without her support, her encouragement, and her willingness to have a lot of cold dinners. Thank you, honey. And finally, all you guys and gals that raised your hand and said that you were on a team that I coached, please stand up. Everybody, stand up. If you're on a team that I coached, stand up. This is for you. Without you, I wouldn't be here. Thank you. Thank you, Central Montcalm. 50 years ago, I was hired here, and it was not a mistake me coming to this community. I love all of you. Thank
After basketball games, I always told my players, you better pick up the locker room better than it was when we walked in, otherwise I'll take care of you at practice tomorrow. Don't ever leave your uniforms because it's going to cost you the next day. So, it doesn't change as they grow older. So Mark Stevens and Matt Spencer, don't forget, otherwise we'll see you tomorrow at practice. First of all, thank you very much for coming. Congratulations to the ones that inducted. The only thing we have, two things. We got pictures to take, and please walk around each of the tables at the centerpieces and take your pictures with you. Barnard does a great job doing our centerpieces, and so they're there for you to take home. At this time, I would like this year's inductees to come up so that we can get the pictures ready.
Blue chairs are behind.
All right, just double check it.